topic of the show.
Oh God!
Yeah, right.
We need to head up. Yeah, I'm calling Fiverr right now. We're getting some music.
This is awful.
Scatman's on Fiverr.
Just mute your mic, Static. Please.
That's fair. That's fair. Call it how I see it. Topic of the show. There's this little game out there, Deathloop. Y'all heard of it? You should have, because holy God, we got ourselves a GOATY contender. Am I right, Blake Hester?
I gave it a 3 out of 10.
Lies.
What are you talking about? No. Yeah, it's really great. It's not as good as Resident Evil 8, but it's strong contender for second best game of the year.
Wow.
We're getting political on this show. I can see. You wrote the review for us. What did you think, Blake? Get into it.
I did. It is by Arkane Studios, which I wish made every game. FIFA, Gran Turismo, Roblox.
Arkane Leon.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. No. Leon, Austin, whichever one. Doesn't matter.
Fair.
I thought it was great. Like, it was just another great... I don't know. Is Arkane one of the most consistently like solid studios out? I mean, they don't put out a ton of games. There are pretty big gaps between their games, but it's just like a really refined one of those. It feels in a lot of ways, I know this is a reductive way to talk about game design, but a copy and paste of a lot of Dishonored's mechanics just in a new world. And that's good. More game. I wish that was in every game again. Like if FIFA just had blink and chain together your enemies, that'd be amazing. Like put that in everything
on the field.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Gran Turismo, I could kill the other cars, whatever. It's really, really good, and I'm really, really taken with it. And I'm so stoked that it seems like other people are too, because I think the Arkane games have sold pretty poor in the past.
Yeah,
which has been publicly talked about a lot, and I really hope this is the one that kind of tunes people in to that studio's work, because I think in a lot of ways it's despite the strictness of just like a time loop game inherently, it's one of the more approachable games they've ever made, maybe even one of the easier games Arkane has ever made. So play it. Unless you got an Xbox only, then you can't play it. Sorry. Not my fault.
For sure. And for those of you who don't know, Deathloop centers around Colt, who wakes up on a beach. Memory is a bit foggy, and
we all been there.
Hey man. You work your way through Black Reef, and you have to kill 8 visionaries, these kind of bosses of this island, to figure out why you're stuck in this loop. But also got Juliana running amok trying to stop you. What's
her
going on
last
with that? Louis Dreyfus.
That's very good. That's very good, Alex.
Thank you.
It's Blake.
Yeah,
it's Blake.
Oh, I see. I didn't get that. I played it for about 45 minutes last night and fell asleep. Not because it's bad, because I was a tired boy.
God, you can't be throwing that kind of sentence around.
I was
angry.
People gotta wait. You know, it's the end credit scene for Marvel movies. But yeah, so you just fight your way through the island, try to break the time loop, and figure out what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
Blake, did you get to play any of the? Speaking of Juliana, she is either an AI or a human person who can invade your game and end your loop. What was your experience like with that?
Well, let me tell you, I called up Alex Van Aken. I said, "Hey, I gotta finish this review by tomorrow. We gotta try it out." And he said, "All right, bet." And we played it. And Van Aken, I don't know if y'all knew this, being recruited by Team Liquid, this dude wiped the floor with me. Is Team Liquid an esports team? I think so.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's really cool. Like, so the way it works is because there's a time loop, the game treats death and murder very flippantly. Like, it's a very, I think in my review, I call it gleefully nihilistic. Everyone on Black Reef is basically like, death has no meaning here. Die. Who cares? So Juliana is really upset with Colt for reasons that are clear throughout the game. I won't spoil, but something she says early on is, "I am going to kill you every day as horribly as possible." And that sets up the multiplayer. It's kind of a clever way to set it up, where another player will infiltrate your game And what I expected going into it was you'd kind of just know where people are, on the mini map. I guess there's not a mini map, so that's a bad example. But the game actually, other than being like, "Hey, Juliana's here," doesn't
tell you anything.
It's awesome, yeah. So like theoretically, you could ignore it and go about your business and get away with it without you two ever crossing paths. You have to rely on like sight and sound, which is a really cool way to implement stealth into like a multiplayer component. I don't know if I've played too many other stealth-based multiplayer games. Maybe all of them do that, but like the way it limited me felt really cool and almost like scary. Like I was talking to Alex on Discord. We were laughing and having a good time, but I was also like really on edge because I was like, where the hell is this dude? Like I could not find him. And then, Nate shot over here. He just get me every time. There was one point. This made me so mad. I hunted this man down and he one.
It was a long match too. I was going slow.
He one-shot me. I didn't even know that was possible in this game. He turned around a corner, killed me, and it was like an hour of progress I lost. Done deal. But it's really cool. I recommend it. Juliana's great. Juliana and Colt's great.
Their relationship is awesome. I'm about an hour from completing the game. I've kind of wrapped up most of the threads, and I know that because there's a really great tracking system that they implement that I wish all time loop games, because there's been like 5 this year.
Surprisingly, a lot of them, yeah.
Yeah, just in general, like time loop games, puzzle games, whatever. It has this really great lead tracking system that kind of tells you when you pick up clues. It kind of gives you like, okay, let's say you're rummaging through this email from a character in the game, and you can read all of the details, but after you're done reading it, it'll give you a quick 2-sentence summation saying, hey, this is happening. And then it's going to add that to your, like Charlie from Always Sunny, like your corkboard of tips and clues. And there's a digital version of that kind of keeps track of your progress. So if you're getting hazy, there's a lot going on, a lot of threads. You're hunting down 8 people and they all have their own schedules, behaviors, all of that. And that changes based on time of day. So there's a lot going on. And this lead tracking system just makes everything tidy and like easy to follow. And I think that, to Blake's point, makes this game easier than other Arkane games. It's at times it feels like pretty linear, like whereas Dishonored 2, I kind of felt just weren't as linear. But yeah, so back to the multiplayer part. It reminds me of Spies versus Mercs from Splinter Cell, actually, quite a bit, and is giving me a lot of those similar feelings. Like Blake said, the tension, and it's cool because if you load in, so single player is called Break the Loop, and then below that, after you get far enough in the game, you can protect the loop as Juliana, like you said. And the further that you play as Juliana, the more experience you get, and the more powers and weapons and such. And like weapon, they're called trinkets. They are kind of mods for your weapon. So, for instance, if you equip this mod, then maybe you can aim down the sights faster, or your grenades, instead of damaging people, they heal people. Stuff like that. It makes it's a really interesting push and pull, because sometimes I'm pretty late into the game as Colt. And so most of the game just launched a couple days ago. A lot of the Julianas I've met are kind of like newer to the game than I am. And I know these maps like in and out at this point. And I've got an arsenal. I've got the wild sniper rifle that you can charge up. And like, they make a mistake when they load into my game. And it's like, go ahead, James. What?
I was like, can I ask how much do you bring with you when you Deathloop?
Yeah. So at first, when you start, you lose everything when you loop. But it's kind of related to story, so I don't want to get too into it. There's a system in place pretty early on where you can start collecting resources in the environment and dumping that out if you survive and make it like through. Each loop is separated into 4 segments. Each segment, at the end of the segment, if you survive, you can invest that resource into prioritizing. Like you'll probably collect a lot of stuff, but you only have enough resources to save a few. But yeah, you gradually build up a roster or an arsenal rather of abilities and weapons. And I'm about 17 hours into the game at this point. For what it's worth, I think how long to beat. Most people are beating it in 15. I've just been playing a lot of multiplayer. But yeah, at that point in the game, I have pretty much every weapon in the game and a lot of upgrades. And so it was just over time, like, just slowly, okay, I've got enough resources. Let me pull this together and it'll preserve between loops now. So it's a cool system. I don't want to, it's pretty integral to the story. So I don't want to go any further, but that's kind of like how that works.
For sure.
Can I talk about something?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, you can.
In this game, Arkane got rid of two of their best mechanics: opening drawers and eating random food out of the trash.
True. I found a
I just want to talk about this. I just want to talk about, if you're wondering why Game Informer didn't follow suit with IGN and GameSpot giving 10 out of 10s. There you go.
Oh boy, I don't know if you want to give that insight. You're just asking for more angry emails.
That's fine. Blake Hester at GameInformer.com. Send me your emails.
Well, you do not know what you're asking for.
You're on the Dan list now.
You don't want to be on that list.
No.
Hey, I got quick fingers. I click the little box and then I click the little delete. And they go, bye-bye.
But Marcus, you've been playing this game too. You picked it up on launch day, right? You're a couple hours in.
Yeah, I'm about 3 hours in. I streamed a couple hours last night, then played another hour after that. I'm enjoying it a lot. I'm a huge Arkane fan, like a lot of us. But what I'm liking the most about it, outside of the I agree with Blake that Colt and Juliana won me over very quickly. Mm-hmm. I think their banter is fantastic. I think the writing is really strong. Colt reminds me of a less cringy version of the Final Fantasy VII version of Barrett, or the remake version, I'd say. Like the very
hold on a minute. Wait, hold on.
And I like Barrett in remake, but he has his moments you're like, okay, who wrote that? They have very similar, kind of like that gruff voice, really over the top. But I don't know, his writing just feels a lot more genuine and like an actual person, but still really goofy. And I'm digging that. And I'm also like the time looping mechanic in terms of finding information. Like I'm addicted to that in the way that I was when I played Outer Wilds, which is a game I'm a big fan of. Like I love games that give me tangible rewards for going out of my way to collect knowledge. Like I'm digging through every environment, trying to find like every piece of paper, every email, every audio log, because it does matter. Like the game stresses like, hey, the littlest thing could be a lead. And kind of like Outer Wilds, it has the little tracker like Van Aken mentioned that kind of keeps track of like, hey, this is when this is going on and this is this, and you're like, okay, so I have it in my mind that so and so is going to be here at this time, and so it just makes me want to keep digging around for more. Like I'm in that detective mode of like I want to know everything that goes on Black Wreath at all times. So I think the game's doing a good job with that. I think it plays well, just mechanically. That dual sense, those haptic feedback feels nice, and yeah, I've been thinking about it this morning and I want to get back to it really bad. Like I had my first real game over last night. That was terrible because I was on an amazing run, had some really good weapons for where I was in the game, and then just died the stupidest ways. I stepped outside and fell into a lake that I didn't realize was there. I didn't do. Yeah, and then now I have to restart that whole mission again. So and I lost all my stuff that I had because I have not gotten to the point where I can bring things loop to loop yet.
Okay. See, you should prioritize that when you can.
That's where I died actually. I was trying to get there.
That's a difficult section. I died probably 3 times doing that.
I didn't die at all. Like I said, I was on an amazing run, taking out everybody.
I died from falling in too, which is funny.
Yeah, like I was at the end of it, and then I died and lost an item that was crucial to the mission. And they were like, well, you got to restart because you can't get it back. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing that tonight. So, but yeah, I'm so pumped to get back to it. I could see this. I could see this already being in my top 10 and maybe game of the year. Setting all the right notes so far.
We don't know. See, I guess for me hearing that though, that sounds really frustrating, and one of the reasons why something like a roguelite necessarily hasn't grabbed me, other than like Hades and a couple others. What's preventing against that frustration of like, all right, I lost everything, I'm gonna but this is worth it type of mentality.
I will say for me, And even in that level, and Blake, you've seen more of it, but I already found shortcuts, both just like actual built-in shortcuts, but even just knowledge shortcuts where I know how to get to the end of where I was quicker than I did before.
I'll also say, like Van Aken alluded to, there's a system that you'll find in the game that all but eliminates a lot of that crushingness of losing everything, because you can carry things over to later playthroughs. So if you're investing right within the game after a few hours, dying feels more akin to just like dying in any other video game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I will say the difficulty curve is like the first like 3 or 4 hours is the most difficult, and then I am, like I said, like 17 hours in, and I feel unstoppable, and like even against other players, I'm just like, all right, like let's go, you know.
Yeah.
So early hours are definitely the toughest.
Even bosses, like when I died, I'd beaten one of the 8 bosses, but like right before I did, I found a way to beat them quicker. So like, and I can do that now in my next loop. So this time I was like, oh, I'm just gonna do that other way because that's way quicker than what I did before. Yeah. So yeah, like as long as you poke around enough, you'll find ways to get back to where you were faster than before.
For sure. Dan, is this Attack Joint? Are you excited about this one? Are you gonna check it out?
You know, I was not planning to play it, but the review, you know, when a game comes out the gates like this, I kind of owe it to everybody, including myself, to check it out. I am really interested to see how it's going to resonate with me, because I am going to play it now. Okay. Just again, I was going to be like, if this was like an 8 or something, I'd be like, yeah, it's not for me, sure. Right? Just because it doesn't look like something that, you know, I've tried to resonate with Arkane games. You know, I went through Dishonored. You know, Dishonored 2 was just like, okay, I'll play that. I played that for like half an hour. It's just not me, right? I don't know, but like this one, I was not planning on it, but I'm going to now. And I'll come back and tell everybody that you are either really right or really wrong. So there you go.
It's a beautiful
Can we
thing.
also say that Deathloop, best furniture of any game of the year? I want a Deathloop like catalog that you can just order this stuff.
Oh, that'd be great as like an art book.
Just that'd a big awesome old head in my house that's also a bar.
Yeah, it's a weird. It pulls from the 60s like really heavily.
Yeah,
it's definitely like way different as far as aesthetics than like any of like what was it, like Carnassus and Dishonored.
It's not depressing.
No, it's
every other Arkane game is.
People are like,
it's nihilistic, but it's vibrant and quirky.
Yeah,
it's cool.
From the very second you start that game, that music is just popping, and Colt's dialogue is really great in it. So
let's talk about the menu, man. The startup menu is so good. Like it's just got style. You kind of move throughout the characters. Oh, it's so good.
Even the weird little like Edith Finch style floating text that he keeps seeing throughout the game.
Yeah.
Like, those messages have made me laugh. It's just like it seems like they're just timed perfectly. Like there's some, which is really hard for like a static thing in the environment to have good comedic timing, but they seem to know exactly when to put them where I just get a chuckle out of them.
Yeah.
I think that was the thing I was most surprised by with Deathloop, was enjoying the characters and story, because I love Arkane games, but like I couldn't tell you about Dishonored 1, and I've played that game so many times. Like I don't care about anything that happens there. The world is great and playing it is great, but like loading into Deathloop and almost immediately loving Colt and Juliana really took me by surprise. So shouts out to the writing team on that, because they crushed it. Like their relationship is so good.
For sure. James, after hearing testimony here, is this something up your alley, or is this not that kind of game for you?
Yeah, I mean, you guys are selling me on it. I will say I have some of the same reservations that Dan said, which is that Arkane has not really ever clicked with me. And it's not like, oh, they're making bad games. It's like for some reasons you're outside of the window and you're like, God, this looks really great. But like generally I find myself the way I've enjoyed Arkane games is watching someone else play. Like someone has figured out how to do the coolest way better than I could ever be at this game, and they're just going to rip through it. So like a speed runner or even just like a long play is like the way I would prefer to experience Dishonored, because when I played it, it just wasn't clicking for me. And then Prey, I started and enjoyed, but for whatever reason, it's kind of feels like a slow burn, and it just, other games come out, and that's just kind of what happens. And then the prospect of, a couple things. The multiplayer being someone can invade you. I generally assume if anyone's going to do that, they're better than me. So they're going to make my life hell. And
you can't turn that off, by the way.
So I saw that you can turn it off, which is good. But then also the way you're talking about it sounds like it's a little bit more like if someone were to control Mr. X in Resident Evil 2 remake. Like, it's going to affect your game, but there's ways you can still that was such an added bonus to exploring Resident Evil 2, is having this thing that was smart following you around and like giving you a sense of urgency. So that is less of a deterrent. And of course the production design you guys are describing sounds amazing. So I will probably give it a try, but I am apprehensive.
Fair.
Because Hades I love, but it is really tough for me, games where you could like lose your progress in an instant. I mean, Demon's Soul, just to get where I'm at, when I was gonna fight the old monk, I went into the world and then it said someone has joined, and then I went, okay, cool. I cleared that stairwell, went to the top of it, emote sat down and waited for 20 minutes until the person disconnected, and then I went and fought the boss. I gave it one shot with another player who was a dick, and I said nope. And so that's how I experienced those, and that's how I prefer. And it was the most satisfying victory, sitting out there. It's almost like if you find the shortcut to be able to do in Sekiro like some early damage on a bad guy or whatever, so you only have to take their life bar down once. That was me sitting outside the door to the monk and waiting for them to disconnect. And so that was satisfying. So that obviously adds to some apprehension, but I think this feels like something I would enjoy, especially because you guys are describing so much lore, and most of what you're talking about is exploring and following leads and like experiencing the world and gaining strength, as opposed to being really fast at clicking heads. So
I definitely, this is 100% going to be a game for me that I spend hours setting up my stealth ability, setting up the traps, and I'd accidentally click one wrong head and blow it all in one instant. So looking forward to those moments. So Blake, your review is on the site. Alex, your video is on the YouTube page. Blake, what'd you give Deathloop?
9 out of 10. It's the highest score I think I've ever given in my professional career.
Wow. We're truly making history on this week's GI Show. I love it.